Bitcoin is quite boring. It's been moving sideways for a few weeks. It's kind of just oscillating right around its 50-day and the 20-day moving averages within relatively narrowing Bollinger Bands. That's all in accordance to what I mentioned in a previous couple of videos on Bitcoin, expecting very little volatility. As I mentioned, usually periods of high volatility, as we saw in late 2021, are replaced by periods of low volatility, and vice versa. So as I mentioned, I was expecting some sort of a cycle similar to that what we saw in June and July of 2021. A bit of a sideways move, and the cycle is now 57 days long. There is a chance, perhaps 40% chance in my opinion, that the cycle did actually finish over here in the middle of March, lasting for only 48 days. That would give us a relatively short cycle, and if that is the case, then Bitcoin would generally trend upwards from here. Again, I would give this 40% chance probability. That's because the decline into the cycle low hasn't really been that significant, and on top of that, it would give us a relatively unusually short cycle. Cycles usually last for a couple of months, and since March 2020, the shortest cycle has been only 51 days, and the longest cycle has been 79 days. So there is a possibility Bitcoin just pushes higher to the next resistance level, somewhere around $45,000, and the next resistance from the 200-day moving average, somewhere around $48,000. But I think there is a 60% chance, I would say, that we are still going to see the cycle low over the next couple of weeks. Something similar again to what we saw in June-July last year, last push down before Bitcoin starts a new cycle. After all, since the correction in Bitcoin started in early last year, the cycle lows came with the RSI at least as high as 34.9 or lower. While this potential cycle low in mid-March only brought RSI as low as above 43. So I would think that there is a 60% chance of another correction in Bitcoin over the next 1 or 2 weeks before the new cycle rally starts. And that would actually give us some cycles closer to the average duration of just over a couple of months. Next, looking at the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. It's now at 26. And again, there is a chance that the cycle has already finished, with the Crypto Fear and Greed Index dropping from just above 50 all the way down to 20. 20 is pretty low and could be enough of a fearfulness for the cycle low. But looking at the previous sideways cycle in June-July last year, we saw a last push lower in the Fear and Greed Index down to 10 before the new cycle starts. So perhaps there is a better than 50% chance of one more push lower over the next 1 or 2 weeks. And lastly, looking at the Bitcoin Optimism Index, which is quite volatile, this blue line over here. For that reason, I like to look at the 10-day moving average of this Optimism Index. And again, since the correction in Bitcoin began in early last year, the cycle lows in Bitcoin came with this 10-day moving average somewhere below 40. Recently though, over the last couple of weeks, this 10-day moving average hasn't really dipped much below 40, so again, there is probably a 60% chance of one more dip lower before a new cycle rally starts. But in the longer term though, I do think that cryptocurrencies have an outstanding potential, especially with the ever-rising inflation. And so even though I think a bit of a correction is likely before a push higher, I do have some position already. And for more details on our trades on a range of assets, you are more than welcome to join us at myfinancesteacher.org. Have a nice day and bye-bye.